Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel where the Force is family. I am Master Paul, and once again, we have Mr. Tyler G here in the house. So that can only mean one thing. We are delving back into the wizarding world. And honestly, at least until the new Fantastic Beasts comes out, this is kind of for the last time because I'm caught up now.
Yep.
Actually, hold on.
April 15th.
Yes, indeed. Wait one moment. I just realized that I have something over here that I need to show off that you just gave me. So just wait
Okay.
one
Well,
moment.
technically two things because you received the first item and then the second item was total surprise.
All right. So, before we get into this, I have to mention something really cool that happened. Two really cool gifts that Tyler gave to me the other day. Now, one of them is still in the car, but the other one I actually have here with me because it's very relevant to what we are talking about. So the two things that Tyler has given me is he gave me an actual copy of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them that has all of the Fantastic Beasts listed in them. So we will be referring to this quite a bit tonight. He also gave me his copies of the entire Harry Potter, all 7 books. So I know I told you this when you gave him, but thank you, man. I really do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're talking tonight about Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. So, before we get into it, let's just do a quick recap, if we can, of the first Fantastic Beasts movie, just so that we're caught up to speed. So that movie, and pretty much all of these movies so far, center around a guy by the name of Newt Scamander, who is the guy who wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. In fact, you can see his name is right there. And it's basically him traveling to these different countries and finding these different beasts and adding them to the collection here, as well as interacting with those different wizarding communities. However, the larger story is there is an evil wizard by the name of Grindelwald who has, we'll say, certain connections to Dumbledore. We'll get into that later. That's leading an uprising of the wizarding folk, basically because he wants to rule over the muggles, no mages, call them what you will, people that don't use magic. And the reason why we actually find out in this movie. So is that a sufficient actually no, there is one other thing I forgot to mention. In the first movie, we're introduced also to this one guy by the name of Credence, who we find out is an obscurial, someone that is born with magic, but has never been taught how to use it and therefore keeps it suppressed. And it starts overloading, we'll say. And if an obscurial becomes too powerful, they basically self-destruct and die.
Yep. And also in the first movie, we see like a muggle finally starts also playing in the movies. Like you don't just see just the wizarding world, you see other parts of the entire world starting to be incorporated into the Harry Potter.
That is also very true. So, with that being said, the last thing that we had seen in the first movie was Newt Scamander going back to England to finish his book. And we also saw Grindelwald, who was undercover as, I guess you could say, the American head of magical law enforcement. His name was Percival Graves. He was under some form of, I don't think it was a polyjuice potion, it was something else that was making him assume the form of Percival Graves, but his cover has been blown, and he now has been captured and held custody by the American magical police force. And that's pretty much where we start this movie. So, We start with Grindelwald, who looks very, very roughed up. He's not able to talk, and pretty much every Auror available comes in to escort him back to Europe because a Mr. Spielman, which remind me, what position does he serve again?
I don't remember.
Yeah, neither do I. Let me look it up. But basically, he's there to collect Grindelwald because, quote, he has to answer for his crimes in Europe. All right. Where is it?
He was a German wizard, worked as the head of incarceration at the International Confederation of Wizards.
Yes, okay. There it is. So basically they bring Grindelwald through the prison, and they have him in complete suspended animation so he can't do nothing. But it's interesting to note that while they do this, other prisoners are like cheering for Grindelwald because they support his cause. Oh, by the way, hello to Leia Rose. Thank you for joining. So they get Grindelwald loaded into this carriage, which, by the way, is being pulled by Thestrals. In fact, I bet Thestrals are in this book. Let me see if I can...
It goes in alphabetical order.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like it starts on page 135. Let me see if I can... There's going to be a lot of this, by the way, me flipping through these different pages.
And while he's looking that up, it's kind of important to say that while they were handing...
Oh, some of these fold out. Cool.
Yes. While they were handing over Grindelwald to Rudolph Spielman, the Serafina Pickery, the president of the United States Wizard World, tells Rudolph that they had to cut out his tongue because while he was there, he was able to convert 7 of their own Aurors. And they cut out his tongue so he could no longer speak. And this shows how much of a influence Grindelwald has on other wizards.
Now, let me ask you this. Is that just because he is naturally charismatic like that, or was he using magic?
Naturally charismatic. And I'm sure there was some sort of magic within it because Grindelwald knew lots of magic.
Okay. All right, so anyways, they get him loaded into this carriage, which is being pulled by Thestrals, which I think I just passed those. No, I didn't. I don't think they're in here, are they?
They should be.
Because they should be between Tebow and Thunderbird, but it's not in here. Okay.
I have no idea then.
Well, we'll keep this handy because I know we're going to see some stuff in here. But anyways, during the trip, though, something goes wrong because as it turns out, the person that they have in the carriage isn't actually Grindelwald. It's someone by the name of Abernathy that has taken a polyjuice potion to look like Grindelwald. And Grindelwald did the same to look like Abernathy, and he has stowed away on the underside of the carriage. So, real quick, wasn't Abernathy in the last movie as like an American ministry worker?
I think.
Let me look this up.
Are you talking about Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah.
1?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like... Okay, so yeah, he was. He was the supervisor to both Tina and Queenie in the wand permit office. and he ended up after that joining the alliance that Grindelwald was creating. So thank you, Leia Rose, for helping us out with that. So basically, Grindelwald and Abernathy worked together basically to take over the carriage and get away, getting rid of the guards that were not helping them. And then we see the British Ministry of Magic 3 months later, and we see Newt has been called to the British Ministry to meet with some officials there, one of which happens to be his brother, Theseus, who I think is safe to say is much tougher of a man and more straight-minded of a man than Newt is. So the reason that Newt's even there is to get his privileges of international travel reinstated. However, the ministry officials that he meets with, which I believe include the Minister of Magical Police for England, right?
I watched the movie earlier today, and
So did
I
I.
can't. It's so many characters.
I'm going to assume so. Basically, they say, okay, we'll give you back your international privileges, but on one condition. We want you to work for the Ministry of Magic as an R. And Newt says no, because he has very, very low opinions of R's. Basically, he says in the later in the movie that R's only response to something that they don't understand is to destroy it. Does that sound about right?
To destroy the Obscurial?
Anything they don't understand.
Yeah.
And of course, that doesn't win him over with the people he's meeting with. So eventually, he just storms out of there because what they really want him to do. They really want him to help them take down Grindelwald, which he wants to stay neutral. He wants to continue making his book. And so eventually, they're like, okay, forget this. You're not going to help us. Your privileges are denied. So, Newt, of course, feels bad about this. And suddenly, he sees a certain glove that's hovering by itself. What? Did I miss something?
The guy that appears around the corner that Newt would have to work with.
Oh, yes.
Gunnar Grimson.
Mm-hmm.
They want him to work with Newt to work with him, but Gunnar.
See, I thought it was work with his brother.
Yeah, it is work with his brother, but then Gunnar appears and is like, "Well, if he doesn't do it, I will."
Right, which we find out some stuff about him a little bit later.
Yeah.
So, so this is where we get to the scene where Newt sees the glove hovering in midair, and he apparates with it and comes into and runs across none other than Albus Dumbledore. Yes, the same guy that is the headmaster at Hogwarts by the time of the Harry Potter stories, but obviously he's much younger here. And basically, Dumbledore also wants Newt to help him find Grindelwald, specifically because he can't. And we find out why later on in the movie. So, so Newt heads home to think about all of this, and we see that the menagerie that we saw in the last movie, in his suitcase, he has an even more impressive one in his actual home. He has everything from this one random, what looks like an elk that can open its mouth really big, to something called a kelpie, which is basically an underwater horse made of seaweed, to baby nifflers,
A bunch of
Yes. I, I didn't think I didn't think the Niffler was as annoying in this movie as I did in the last one. Same with Newt. I liked him much better in this movie,
Yeah.
and and we'll get into why later on. So he's helping his attendant take care of the animals when he goes upstairs to find that Queenie and Jacob have been in
No,
his
that's
home.
um yeah, it is Queenie, sorry.
Yeah.
I get Queenie and Tina mixed up all the time.
And Newt, of course, is completely surprised to see them. A, because he didn't think that they would be making it over to England. And B, more importantly, he's surprised to see Jacob there because in the last movie, Jacob was supposed to have been obliviated. But as Jacob mentions, it didn't work. Being obliviated is only supposed to erase bad memories, and he didn't have any. However, Jacob's acting weird. Like he's acting a little too lovey-dovey with Queenie. And we even see some camera shots from Jacob's point of view where there's this pink haze over his vision. And so they
That
Newt
spell kind of reminds me of like the seeing rose-colored glasses, but it's like
Mhm.
a rose-colored spell.
Yeah. Or it could be the same thing that had Ron accidentally fall in love with that one girl in Half-Blood Prince.
Romilda, uh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Mhm.
What you're talking about.
Yep. So Newt notices all of this and basically calls Queenie out for charming him that way, and he undoes the charm. Jacob comes to his senses and is like, "Queenie, you should not have done that. That was wrong. Look, I know you want to marry me. I want to marry you, but we can't because basically the American magical community won't allow it." And Queenie, in the first movie, she seemed she seemed airheaded and kind of insane, but mostly harmless. She seems like she's gotten just a little bit crazier in this part of the movie, wouldn't you say?
Yes and no. Um, it definitely her legitimacy gift definitely plays a part in the way she acts, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Once we get farther into the plot of the movie,
Yes,
uh,
yes, that is a good point. So, Queenie and Jacob get into an argument where Jacob accidentally almost calls Queenie crazy, but stops himself. However, Queenie still picks up on it and just storms away, leaving Jacob, upset. So it's also revealed that Tina and Newt sort of had a long distance falling out. At least on Tina's side of things. Newt was
yeah,
completely oblivious to it because Tina had seen a newspaper clipping showing um Rose says Queenie wanted to have a normal love life. That is true.
yeah.
But of course, the laws of the magical world in America wouldn't allow that. So anyways, Jacob shows Newt at one point during all of this a newspaper clipping of Newt and his brother and his brother's fiance, a woman by the name of Lita Lestrange. I wonder where we've heard that last name Lestrange from before. And Tina misunderstood it, thinking that it was Newt that was dating and engaged to Lita Lestrange because of the wording. I believe it said something. Newt is here pictured next to fiance Lita Lestrange and Theseus Scamander, even though in reality it's Theseus engaged to Lita. So Tina mistook that, and also given the fact that Newt doesn't think very highly of Aurors, basically things ended between the two of them.
Yeah. And I don't remember you talking about this, but Tina isn't there when Queenie and Jacob are there, and Queenie tells Newt that she is on a mission in Paris.
Yep,
She
that is
has
true.
been reinstated as an Auror in the American magical world. And so when Queenie leaves after Jacob and her fight, she goes to find her sister Tina.
Correct. So, we then move to Paris. And in Paris, we see that Grindelwald has sort of set up a, I guess you could say, temporary base of operations there with some of his French followers. And the place where they chose had people living in it already. So Grindelwald and his followers killed them using Avada Kedavra. Oh, by the way, hello to Everest Productions, who says, even though this movie is convoluted, I watched it a couple times and I can admit I kind of like this movie more than the first. Maybe because it's because of Johnny Depp and Jude Law, but I kind of like the story better where the first movie is sort of a movie about the Fantastic Beasts, whereas this movie was about Grindelwald. I could see that. And tell you what, Mr. Crit, I'm going to send you, if you are interested, I am going to send you the StreamYard link so that you can come on here and talk about it with us. So anyways, yes, they use Avada Kedavra. We see the green flash. Oh, which, by the way, speaking of that, something that's changed since the last time you've been here, Tyler, I've started including different clips just to flash up as a meme. Like, for example, anytime anyone in the chat mentions Star Trek V, most noticeably Phil McCracken, I play this.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship?
Well, I have one for this situation.
Harry Potter, the boy who lived, come to die.
There you go. So also by the way, if you're on TikTok, anyone watching this, the trend that people are having where they'll just pick up random things and intentionally say Avada Kedavra badly, like that sort of thing, look it up. It's really funny. By the way, hello to Lord
Hello.
Crit. What's up?
Hello. I wanted to talk briefly about the movie.
Okay.
I didn't hear your thoughts on it. I know you're covering it. So.
Well, first I wanted to ask you what you meant by this movie being convoluted.
I think this movie has a lot of plot lines to it. There's the stuff with Queenie and Jacob. There's the stuff with Jacob, with Newt and that girl.
Tina.
Yeah, Tina. There's Grindelwald, who Johnny Depp, I think, really makes this movie because of that. And Jude Law. I like Jude Law's Dumbledore. There's the plot twist where the real villain was Lestrange, an ancestor of Bellatrix Lestrange, where she was.
I didn't get that at all.
You didn't?
No, I thought she was a good guy that just made a bad choice.
She's pretty much the cause. I felt like she was. If I remember, she was on the Titanic and she fought Credence. She was just tired of Credence's existence on the Titanic, and she swapped children.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
Like I said, I think she was a good guy that just made a bad choice. I don't think that makes her an out and out villain. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I think because she wasn't so much tired of his existence, she was just tired of hearing all his crying, and she would have eventually swapped him if the boat hadn't sank.
I think no, I think she had demons growing up, and I think that's the tragedy to her character. I'll kind of compare her to uh I'll compare her to Jinx from Arcane, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I Jinx, at least when she's Powder, I think it's the same thing where she's a good guy that made a bad choice. But the difference between Jinx and Powder is that Jinx and Lita is that yes, they both have deep regrets about what they did, and they both very much have demons. But Lita never basically gave in to her demons. She continued to fight them and repress them.
Yeah, and then on top of that, there was something involving Dumbledore and Grindelwald that was from the books, I think, mentioned in the books.
It was
The Blood Pact.
Yes.
And that's what there is just a lot of stuff that makes it hard to remember a lot of the movie. I remember they did use some of the beasts so they can give the excuse it's called the Fantastic Beasts, even though it feels like a totally different movie than the first movie. What else did I liked how dark it was. Although at times it would kind of was a little too dark.
Like an example?
The part with the child.
Yeah.
Oh,
when they were going
yes,
to
that is
make-
right. We were actually at that part when you first came in. Because yes, they do go through and cleanse this one house of all its inhabitants, unfortunately, including, I'm guessing, a 2-year-old little boy.
Yeah, but I think it's a pretty solid movie. But but I will say this: the Fantastic Beasts first one is a better movie, but for some reason, when I watch this, I kind of enjoy it a little bit more.
Right.
And I don't know why I enjoy it more. Maybe it's because of the references to Harry Potter, but I really think it's because of Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. He's got charisma and he's a very interesting villain. And and Jude Law as Dumbledore.
Yes, Jude Law. We'll get to. Well, we've kind of already gotten to him. Jude Law, I think, was an absolutely amazing Dumbledore. Maybe better than the first two that played him. Actually, no. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say he's a combination of the first two that played him. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, don't diss Richard Harris, the king of the Dumbledore actors.
I can't help it. I like the guy that replaced him more.
Did you read the books? Because the way he's described in the books,
I'm in the process.
In the books, the way he is portrayed, and maybe Tyler might agree, or he may understand. The way he acts in the books just reminds me more of Richard Harris than how he was as Michael Gambon. Though I don't mind the replacement. I actually like Michael Gambon, but I don't know. There's such a warmth with Richard Harris as Dumbledore.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, everyone points to Harry. Did you put your name into the Goblet of Fire? Which in the book he says calmly, and in the movie he doesn't.
Yeah, but I don't mind it how it was in that movie. It was. Then again, they cut a lot of corners with half the Goblet of Fire. If they really wanted to truly adapt the book, it would be a 2-parter.
That is very true. There's this one. I forget what the name of the channel is, but there's this one channel on YouTube that went into detail about why Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is basically the worst of all of the Harry Potter movies.
I'll say it like, okay, we're talking about Fantastic Beasts. I gotta go back. I was not there for Goblet of Fire, but there is a whole subplot about Hermione helping Dobby and the Hogwarts house elves like get a union. There's a whole funny plot line, and that's kind of like forgotten. However, in Hogwarts Legacy, they did keep the kitchen from the book, so that.
Okay, I found the video, by the way. I'm gonna put it in the chat here in case anyone wants to check it out.
But I kind of like the Fantastic Beasts group. The cast is growing with me again. I like Jacob. He's my favorite because I liked how J.K. Rowling came up with the idea of having an actual Muggle be in the wizarding world and have a part. Because I kind of see Jacob as us, where we're going, wow, what is going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. And I think the guy that plays him does a phenomenal job of doing that. In fact, just like in the first movie, I think everyone in this so far in these two movies have been casted to absolute perfection.
Yes, I agree.
It's just going to be a little bit jarring seeing in the third one Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald instead of Johnny Depp, but at the same time, Mads Mikkelsen is a great actor in his own right, and I'm sure he's going to do a good job too.
Yeah, well, it can be argued. I don't know if they're gonna like reference the appearance. It can be argued that Grindelwald, he just changes his appearance to hide himself. He's ever changing. In the first
Right.
movie, he was Colin Farrell. Colin
Mhm.
Farrell was really good as the Grindelwald's. And then in the second one, you had Johnny Depp masterly played. Everyone thought Johnny Depp was going to suck. He was just going to play it like Jack Sparrow. He did not, and it was a shame that Warner Brothers did what they did. I won't forgive him. But then Mads Mikkelsen's a great actor too, and he's been in a couple movies, but you know, I think he's for that character, Grindelwald. I couldn't think of anyone else because he has that look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. So, anyways, are you able to stick around for the whole thing, or do you have to head out, man? 'Cause I noticed you were doing something in Discord.
I was just talking with Cash in Discord. I'm in.
Oh, okay. Well, heck, let's get him in here too.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, back to the story. So, after they killed all of the people in that house, let me just real quick send this.
Yeah, they're never gonna give justice to Johnny Depp, Phil.
No, they're not. And so funny story real quick. I was last night, I had dinner at Joe's Crab Shack over across the mountain from us. And over on the TV, they just happened to be playing Aquaman. And fun fact, I've never seen Aquaman. I've really not cared that much about the DC movies. And after hearing what I heard about Amber Heard, who is in Aquaman, I don't know if I want to see it, in spite of the fact that what I saw in that restaurant did look cool.
I would push the Aquaman's a really cool movie. It's very visually pleasing. I would give it a chance.
Yeah,
I just ignore that. I like with other problematic character or actors and roles. I just ignore, you didn't like Guinan. I just ignore Whoopi Goldberg and it's a character.
I've learned to separate the actor from the character on Guinan, and maybe I might be able to with Amber Heard and Mara, I think her name is. But going into it, I will say she'd be at a disadvantage with me.
Yeah, she's a rating for sure. But Aquaman's pretty cool. You should. I wish you had like when it came out in IMAX. I know we're talking about Fantastic Beasts, but when Aquaman came out in IMAX, I was visually stunned because I hadn't seen anything good like this since. I think it might Alita Battle Angel came out a few months since Avatar. I would probably say since that. So a good comparison was Avatar because that blew me away as a kid too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Avatar 2 is going to blow people away, even though the story, go see it in the theater. Okay. So, but.
So anyways, getting back to the story, I did just realize now, by the way, we kind of went out of order, but we're back caught up now. So we also find that Credence is working at a magical freak show, and basically he's the guy that cleans up after the animals, which they do have some of the Fantastic Beasts in here. Real quick question, Tyler. Did this book come out here? I'll show it over here. Did you check this out, Mr. Crit? Tyler gave this to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Did this come out before or after this movie did?
I think before.
So do you think any of the magical beasts that are in this movie are going to be in here?
Possibly. I mean, Thestrals came out in Harry Potter, but they're not even in the book, apparently.
Yeah, I literally just looked. And wait, hold on. I might have found one.
The Chinese
water. No. It's a Zou, I think it's called. Yeah, it's not in here. I think only the things that appeared in Harry Potter and in the first one are in this. So, unfortunately, this is of no help to us tonight. So, what's important though is this scene is there's another attraction that is being kept here and of course is abused. A woman who is a maledictus by the name of Nagini. And if that name is sounding familiar, yes, this is the same being as the snake that becomes Voldemort's pet in the Harry Potter series. She's a maledictus, which means that it's basically a less pleasurable version of an animagus. She is able to turn back and forth from a woman to a snake, but eventually she will become a snake permanently.
And a maledictus is a family blood curse. It's passed on from one generation to another to where eventually they will be a beast forever.
Yep, you're exactly right. Oh, by the way, hello to Phil McCracken who says hashtag for justice for Johnny Depp. And he also goes on to say, Johnny Depp got fired on a lie. Will Smith smacks someone on live TV and gets an Oscar. That happened, and honestly, I really don't know what to think about that whole situation, so we're just gonna leave that one there. So, Nagini and Credence are planning an escape. The whole reason that Credence is even in Paris to begin with is because A, he survived the big Obscurial explosion somehow. I don't think they mention it in this. But he also is there basically to learn more about his identity. Because all he's ever known is that he has been known as Credence Barebone, and he has the last name of a woman who absolutely mistreated him that we see in the last movie. You know, the lady that was very much anti-magic, the one that started the new Salem organization. So the show goes on, and Nagini is forced to turn into a snake for the amusement of the crowd. But at that moment, Credence lets some of the animals loose. Nagini also gets loose, and they get away. One of the beasts.
Tina's there.
Oh, yes, and Tina is there. I forgot about that. Thank you. I can't lie. I kind of didn't recognize her in this one because she did get a haircut, but yes, that was Tina. One of the beasts that got away is a Chinese beast called a I'm going to probably say this wrong, a Zowu. Is that right?
A woo woo.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So anyways, Newt and Jacob travel to Paris to also find where Queenie and Tina went because Newt wants to set things right with Queenie. And they get to Paris, and Newt calls out one of his little nifflers because nifflers apparently not only are they obsessed with shiny things, but they're also really good at tracking things. So, he sets him on the job, and eventually they get on the trail of where Tina was. She was in this area, and this is where the freak show was. It's also shown that Tina ends up meeting with this one dude by the name of Yusef Kama. And that's kind of the last that we see of Tina for a while. We also see Queenie is still upset about what happened between her and Jacob. And I really like what they showed here. They show her hearing all of the sounds around her in her mind, and she has a hard time blocking it out. It honestly reminds me, Crits, of that one episode we just covered in TNG where Troy is hearing the music box in her head and she can't unhear it, and it's causing her to go crazy.
Yep.
Well, she basically Queenie
go ahead.
starts having a mental breakdown because she just went to the Paris Ministry of Magic to try to find her sister, because it was said that her sister was supposed to be there on an order job,
but she wasn't found.
Yeah, she wasn't in their records.
Right. And of course, the reason why this is, again, we find that out later. So Newt and Jacob keep going. And we also, actually, let me look at my notes here. So specifically, they take a port key to Paris because apparently it's the only way that Newt can travel out of the country without people knowing that he's breaking his lockdown. Also, while Queenie is at the Ministry of Magic, Abernathy and another Grindelwald follower by the name of Rosier, they are also in the French Ministry of Magic building, and they're trying to find a piece of information that Grindelwald wants. Queenie at one point hears Jacob and Newt on the streets and tries to follow them, but loses them. But Rosier finds her and sort of takes her in. Credence and Nagini, meanwhile, are following another lead for Credence's true identity, and they arrive at the home of an Irma Dugard. And this was someone that Credence believed was his mother. Now, real quick, didn't they say in this movie that Irma Dugard was half elf?
Yep.
Okay, because that explains then why she is so short, because I thought she was just a normal little person. So, then by the way, also hello to Epic John, who says he's here from the gym. Yep, get those gains, bro. So anyways, Irma reveals that she is not Credence's mom. Instead, she is a servant that lived in the house that Credence was born in. And right at this moment is when Gunnar appears and attacks both Credence and Nagini. He sends a killing curse at them, but it hits Irma. Now, he did that on purpose, but he was sent by the Ministry to kill Credence. And then later on, he meets with Grindelwald, and he's like, I'm going to have to explain this to the Ministry, right? Because I was sent to kill Credence, and it's going to appear like I missed and hit someone else. But Grindelwald's like, just don't even worry about it. You're doing the right thing. It's all for the greater good. By the way, John says he's on the treadmill. Okay. So then we catch up. Actually, I take that back. Newt and Jacob, they find Yusuf, and they follow him, and they're tricked. By the way, hello to Cash Money. What's up?
What's going on?
It's Cash Money.
Doing well.
Good.
We are talking about the second Fantastic Beasts movie tonight.
I'm gonna have to do a little homework, but go ahead. So
do your homework.
yes.
Real quick before we go on, before we continue though, what's like your overall thoughts on this movie, especially compared to the first one?
Well, you guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but I actually haven't seen the second one, so that's why I said I got to do some homework.
Oh, okay.
No.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so don't kill me for it. But
You're gonna have to watch some Fantastic Beasts.
yes, I heard. Yeah,
You didn't watch
Phil
it?
McCracken says #Cash Money love Star Trek 5. I played this once already in the stream, but I got to do it again.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship? I said, what does God need with a starship?
Jim, what are you doing? I'm asking you a question.
It looks like I'm gonna have to stream HBO Max for you tonight, Cash.
All
after
right,
we finish
fine.
our TNG episode.
I was told by my brother and some other people it just wasn't that good. I've seen the first one. I thought the first one was a good movie.
I told Paul
second.
Cash the second one is better than the first because Johnny Depp rules. I mean, he's really good as
Okay.
Grindelwald.
But you also said that the second one compared to the first is a little bit more convoluted, correct?
Yeah, the first one's more structured. This one is not, but it's much more enjoyable.
Yes.
I just like it more. Yeah.
But if you want me to bow out from the stream or leave the stream,
that
Paul,
is
it's
that
okay.
is entirely up to you, man.
All right. But
By the
I'm happy
way,
to
Leia
listen,
Rose says this to you.
I know she did. She'll yell at me again later, I'm sure.
By the way, real quick, I'm going to shameless plug myself. As soon as this stream is over, I'm actually going to be on Coffee on Korriban's channel. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but he invited me. So anyways, Yusuf leads Newt and Jacob to where Tina is. However, it's a trick because Tina's actually being held captive by Yusuf. And at that point, Yusuf is like, I have to kill you or they're going to kill me. Actually, no, I take it back. It's, I have to kill Credence or I die. However, at that moment, he just randomly passes out, at which point, they escape. This whole time, though, by the way, Tina does not look happy to see Newt at all. Heck, she doesn't even call him Newt. She calls him Mr. Scamander. Like, just trying to be as strictly professional as possible, though doing a very poor job of hiding the fact that she hates him for, at least in her mind, finding someone else instead of her. And so they continue to track down where Grindelwald is. Meanwhile, we actually go back for the first time since the Deathly Hallows. We go back to Hogwarts. And come to find out, I legit was surprised by this. Dumbledore taught Defense Against the Dark Arts. I thought he would teach something else like Transfiguration.
No. It was Professor McGonagall teaching that at the time. He might have taught it at one point, but during Scamander's time at Hogwarts, he taught Defense Against the Dark Arts.
And they're going through basically Dumbledore is holding dueling practice with the students, and of course they're all having a good time with it. However, the class is interrupted by the head of magical law enforcement for the United Kingdom, because the whole time they've had very suspicious thoughts about Dumbledore, because Dumbledore just will not help them in any way in their crusade against Grindelwald, and they know for a fact that Newt has left his basically has traveled internationally illegally, and that he's in Paris when he's not supposed to be, and they blame Dumbledore for that by sending him on basically Dumbledore's orders, and of course Dumbledore denies it. And of course they try to persuade Dumbledore, basically saying, you are Grindelwald's equal in magic. We want you to fight him. But Dumbledore is adamant that he will not. So, and admittedly I'm a little bit confused about this, Tyler, they use magic on Dumbledore to make these cuffs appear on Dumbledore's wrists, and they say, from now on, we will know every spell that you cast, and our watch on you will be doubled. So, how exactly do those cuffs know what he's doing?
I guess they can detect magic when it's being used. I haven't looked into that myself.
Okay, fair enough.
Which,
by the way,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
In the Harry Potter world, they can use a spell on the wand to see their last spell, which I guess that can only use the last spell. So, I mean,
right. I mean, that's how they found out. I mean, Bellatrix tried to do that with Hermione's wand, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, Cash, Leia Rose says this to you. # Cash loves the Bad Batch.
It was pretty good. Not one of my favorites.
Bad Batch wasn't
Overall,
that
it's
bad.
all right.
I think
It was pretty
Omega, justice for Omega. I think she gets a bad rap. She's way better than any of the characters in Book of Boba.
You're right. It certainly was not Book of Boba. Oh, also, Nick, if you ever happen to watch this, I love you, man, but I'm joining this bandwagon too.
Yeah.
I know. Basically, Tyler, for context of that, Omega is a character in a Star Wars animated show called The Bad Batch. That's been one of the more divisive characters in recent history. Some people like her, some people don't. And sort of our mutual friend on here, Nicholas Glenn from Echo Base Network, he is one person that has been very vocal about not liking her. So it's sort of been a joke to tease him, saying Nick loves Omega, Omega loves Nick. Basically the same thing as what Cash gets from Phil whenever he says # Cash Money loves Star Trek 5. That's it's literally the same thing.
After Book of Boba, I like Omega more than Grogu. So
I don't know if I go that far yet.
What if Grogu somehow popped into the Kenobi show in like the future? It could happen. Could happen.
I almost want it to happen just so I can see how people would react to it. But anyways, getting back to Fantastic Beasts. We also catch up with Lita, who arrived with the magical law enforcement, with the other Aurors, and she is in a certain classroom. It looked like the same classroom that Harry and Ron first walk into in the first movie. Transfiguration. And she opens up a desk showing L plus N in a heart, basically showing that Lita at one point loved... Oh my goodness, Phil, this is dark. It says if Omega was real, I would use her like a football and punt her. Jeez.
Wow, dude.
Goal!
That's something.
I have only one thing to say to that.
What? What? What?
So Dumbledore walks in on Lita, and basically they sort of flash back to another Defense Against the Dark Arts class that Dumbledore was teaching even before this. And it's the same thing that Professor Lupin was doing with Harry and his classmates, basically defending yourself against a boggart. Everyone's going through and letting the boggart turn into what they fear the most, and then they're using the ridiculous spell against it, which, by the way, Newt's greatest fear is basically working a desk job, living a boring life. So he uses the ridiculous spell, and all the desk furniture transforms into a dragon. It's fun stuff. Then we get to Lita's turn, and the boggart turns into something that that at this moment, it's not clear what it is. All we see is that the room goes dark, and a white sheet with something small wrapped in it is floating down. And we find out a little bit more about what is toward the end of the movie. And in the present, Lita and Dumbledore have a conversation about how Dumbledore apparently, according to Lita, doesn't know what it's like to lose someone that they're close to. She lost a brother, but Dumbledore reveals that he lost a sister, which we already know from Deathly Hallows. Her name was Ariana. So, while this is going on, they take, basically, Rosier, while this is going on back in France, takes Queenie to the hideout where basically she meets Grindelwald. And at first she's going to defend herself. She points her wand at him, but Grindelwald talks her down, basically saying, "Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son."
No. Change that wording.
No, I will not.
No.
Join me.
He basically, because she is so sad that, like, he's like, I know you can't marry Jacob, and that's what you want to do most of all. Once us wizards have control, you'll be able to do that.
Yes. Okay, so that's really what we're talking about.
Not ruling the galaxy.
Yes. Yeah, for Cash and Crit, some context behind that. That just how you guys like to get teased by, hashtag Justice for Star Trek 5. I will sometimes tease Tyler at work by intentionally crossing Harry Potter and Star Wars. Like, for example, imagine Harry Skywalker and the Death Star Hallows, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Kyber Crystal. Just stuff like that.
Harry Potter.
Dobby has been given a lightsaber. Dobby is free.
Dumbledore Kenobi.
Yep, of course. All in good fun, Tyler. It's nothing serious. So, while this is going on, Yusuf is taken back to Newt's place, where it's revealed that he has a certain type of parasite. Actually, no, I take it back. They're taken back to this one random, to a safe house.
Yeah.
And this safe house, by the way, is owned by someone who we will meet in just a moment. But in the meantime, Newt has to extract a certain parasite from Kama's eye, because apparently down in those sewers there's this certain creature. I can't even remember what it was.
A water dragon.
Yeah, water dragon that has these parasites that can get into people's eyes. So he heals them from that. And then Yusuf and... Actually, no, I take that back. Tina and Newt go out to the French Ministry of Magic to go and find something, leaving Jacob behind.
There's something they talk about Yusuf. They notice burn marks on his hands as if he made an unbreakable vow.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. He made an unbreakable vow, and we find out again what that is later. However, while Tina and Newt are out, Oh my goodness, Phil, what are you doing? He says, if Dobby was real, I would beat him along with Omega. Punt them both.
What? That is nonsense.
Dude. You're going to have to explain this to me, Phil. Because in
What
the
did
chat,
Dobby ever do to you?
Yeah, you're going to have to explain why you don't like Dobby, Phil. I don't understand. But anyways, there is a scene, though, that comes up while Jacob is left alone in the safe house with the unconscious Yusuf. This really, really, really old man. I like that, Chris. Here, I'll make it bigger so you can see it, Tyler.
No. No.
The last Horcrux.
Nice. Or how about this one? Harry Skywalker and the Rise of Grindelwald.
Harry Skywalker. It sounds like just Harry Skywalker.
So, all right, we're getting off topic. So, like I said, the safe house is owned by a really, 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 really old guy by the name of Nicholas Flamel. And if that name sounds familiar, he is the guy who created the Sorcerer's / Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you're from. The one that basically is the whole point of the very first Harry Potter story. The thing that Voldemort is after, I believe, to restore his body back to himself while he's living on the back of Professor Quirrell's head. Okay, he says, they're both very irritating characters. They're both as bad as them two broke girls. I don't know who the two broke girls are. Are you talking about the TV show Two Broke Girls?
Yeah, it's the TV show, that awful TV show where they make adult jokes every minute and it's not funny.
Thank God I've never heard of that then.
It's always on TV. It just bogs my mind, people.
So, Nicholas Flamel basically shows Jacob a vision of the future in his crystal ball, showing that a big fight is about to go down involving Grindelwald, Newt, Tina, Queenie, and Lita. And so Jacob rushes off to go and find them. Meanwhile, by this point, Tina and Newt are in the French Ministry of Magic building. What is it?
Before they enter, Black
oh yeah, that's right.
Starts going across the entire Paris.
That's right. And that is a signal to basically all of Grindelwald's followers. He's summoning them, basically. Also, just before they enter the ministry building, Newt drinks a polyjuice potion to make himself look like his brother.
And Queenie sees this black cloud and touches the raven, and it's supposed to guide her how to get to the place.
Right. Basically, this whole time, Queenie is slowly going dark.
Yep. And when Flamel is showing Jacob the vision, at the end, it shows where everything's going to take place. The Lestrange tomb in Parishes.
Mm-hmm. So Newt and Tina enter the building, but immediately get recognized by the real Theseus Scamander, who sees Newt as literally himself. And, he tries to stop them, but it doesn't happen. And they make it to basically this I forget what the name is, but this one records keeping room where they also are trying to find who Credence really is. By the way, hello to Coffee on Korriban. Thank you for dropping by.
Greetings.
So they find the shelf where it is, but it's empty. And at that same time, Lita appears. And even though that Lita isn't actually engaged to Newt, it's clear that there's still some feelings there. And Tina notices this. In fact, just before Lita shows up, Tina and Newt basically hash out, what's really going on here. Are you in love with Lita Lestrange or not? And Newt's like, no, I'm not. I really love you. That's why I'm here, because I wanted to see you again. And that sort of helps, Tina forgive Newt. And then they're reunited with Lita. However, they have to escape the building because this one it looks like a cat, but it's called a Madagot, I think it's called. And apparently it's able to duplicate itself when it gets hit. And it attacks anything that attacks it just automatically. So they escape with the help of the Chinese beast that Newt had captured earlier in the movie. And they make their way to the cemetery. Now, the cemetery is where the stuff that's really important happens. So first they go in, and they catch up with Yusuf. And it's here that we learn a little bit more of the backstory of Credence. Because Lita's there also. And between Yusuf and Credence, basically, between Yusuf and Lita, they basically explain that Credence wasn't basically supposed to end up with the Bare Bones orphanage. He was supposed to stay within his own family. However, Lita, when she was a girl and was traveling to America on the Titanic, swapped Credence for another baby because she was tired of Credence's crying.
Well, see, the baby's name, her biological brother, his name is Corvus Lestrange.
Mm-hmm.
And she swaps it, and I guess I don't know how they came out with Credence. But when this baby was born, his name was Corvus Lestrange, and she swapped the baby. And I guess nobody reckon the half elf lady, what was her name? She didn't recognize him, and so
Irma.
that's why. What?
Her name is Irma.
Irma. She left him at the orphanage because she was like, "Oh, this isn't Corvus."
That is true. So basically, that is the baggage that Lita has been carrying with her whole life. The fact that she, through her actions, left Corvus Lestrange to die. And of course, Yusuf thought that Credence was Corvus because he has his own beef with the Lestrange family because his mom basically was stolen from his biological father. And, he was basically there to get revenge on that because his mother died giving birth to the child that his stepfather actually cared about, who I believe was Lita, correct?
No, Corvus.
It was Corvus. Yes.
Yeah. And
so basically this whole situation, really no one gets what they want. Yusuf isn't able to kill Corvus because Corvus is already dead. He thought that Credence was Corvus, but he's really not. And Lita basically gets to bear her soul of what she did wrong. Now, let's revisit what you had said earlier, Crit, about Lita being the cause of all of this. Now that I've described it, do you still think that Lita is the villain of this particular movie?
Not intentionally, unintentionally.
Okay.
She kind of makes the events kind of everything get together. Grindelwald is still the villain, but he's not. He's kind of more behind the scenes.
Kind of like how you could argue that Voldemort was the villain of the whole series, but say for example in the Goblet of Fire, Barty Crouch Jr. was the villain of that particular movie.
Yeah, Barty Crouch Jr. though was helping Voldemort. I don't.
True.
What I'm saying is that this villain, she was on a basically it was all coming together because of her, unintentionally. The characters were coming together. Is
Right. So like I said, I don't think that what she did made her an out and out villain. Like I said, just like with Jinx before she became Jinx, I think she was just a good person that made a really bad decision.
Yes, yeah.
Which that reminds me about Arcane. We need to get with Green Lantern and see when he's going to review it.
Yes. We might need to revisit it some again. I've seen it a couple times.
Which I could certainly do, because I'm sure there's details that I missed in it that I missed in it from the first time. Which, Tyler, have you seen Arcane yet?
No.
Have you played League of Legends?
No.
Okay. Even if you haven't played League of Legends, like I haven't, I think you'll still like this show. It's on Netflix. It's 9 episodes. It's really good.
Okay.
So finally we get to the big meeting and showdown of the movie. So Grindelwald has amassed his followers inside basically this big arena / amphitheater. That's our one reference to where we work, Tyler. This big arena type place inside the tomb, where Grindelwald shows everyone there, including some Aurors that have infiltrated the place, this big vision that he has of why he's doing what he's doing. Basically saying, if we don't step up and take over ruling the non-magical people, this is what's going to happen. And he shows a big vision of what we know, of course, as World War II. And of course, everyone, rightfully so, reacts in horror, because this is the mid to late 20s. The First World War, which was bad enough in its own right, is still fresh in their minds. Heck, Jacob even says, "Oh my goodness, not another world war."
You see, Jacob actually fought in World War I.
Yes. So at that point, that's when the Aurors are come along, and Grindelwald says to his followers, "Get out of here. I'm gonna handle these guys." So everyone leaves except for pretty much all the main characters: Newt, Tina, Queenie, Jacob, Credence, Nagini, and Theseus. And then Grindelwald creates this blue fire around where he's standing.
It's called Protego Diabolica.
Protego Diabolica. Can you explain it a little bit better? What's going on with it?
I actually had it saved up from when I watched the movie earlier, because I knew this was going to be a topic.
Mm-hmm.
Because of how interesting importance it is, I guess you could say, in the movie. An incantation to a protective spell, a modified version of a shield charm, Protego Diabolica conjures a protective ring of fire around the caster.
And only certain people can go through it. Basically, Grindelwald says, "If you are on my side, come through the flames and stand next to me." Someone tries to cross to attack Grindelwald, but he gets consumed by the fire. And Grindelwald also starts sending some of the fire, like using it as a weapon, taking out other Aurors. And then, during all of this, we get this one scene of Queenie telling Jacob, "Did you hear what he's saying? He wants the same thing that we want. He wants to create a world where we can have our relationship open like this. but Jacob knows that Grindelwald is wrong, and Queenie is too blinded by her love to see this. And we literally get a recreation of, Anakin, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path that I can't follow. By the way, hello to Black Dragon. Real quick, Phil McCracken earlier says, here's some news. Will Smith says he's sorry on Twitter to Chris Rock. And then Black Dragon says, F word Will Smith. The proper response to his little rant should have been, I'll keep your wife's name out of my mouth when you keep everyone else out of hers. Yeah, that happened. Like I said, we're just going to leave that one there. I probably should have read that one a little bit closer. But anyways, like I said, it's literally two people that love each other but are separated by ideology, and neither of them are willing to budge, and it only ends in heartbreak. Literally just like Anakin versus Padme, wouldn't you say, Crit?
Yes.
And so Queenie and Jacob are both heartbroken, but Queenie still steps across the fire to officially side with Grindelwald. And this is the scene that admittedly stuck with me the most, because I thought that Queenie would come to her senses and realize that she was wrong for even being there and go back with Jacob. Because admittedly, I am a sucker for a redemption story. That didn't happen.
Nope.
But here's the thing. Queenie's not the only one that officially sides with Grindelwald. So does Credence. And we literally get almost the same scene between Credence and Nagini, because Nagini does genuinely care for Credence. But Credence is like, this guy knows who I really am. I have no choice but to go with him. So he does. Yes.
So one of the reasons she tries to like persuade him not to is she says when they're entering the arena before the whole like talking and showing vision thing happened, she's like, they're purebloods. They kill people like us. And I think that was more of a reference to her and her family and their blood curse being a maledictus. She would be seen as impure.
Correct. So by the end of it, essentially Grindelwald wins this one, because he leaves behind his Protego Diabolica, which turns into this literally a dragon made of blue fire that everyone has to repel with their own fire, with the help of Nicholas Flamel, by the way.
So it's not so much fire, it's Finite, which is a general counter spell. And I guess in this, the way they were using it, it did come up as a fire version of the spell.
Right. Also, Leo Rose says, Queenie lost her love of herself, who she was supposed to be, but knows in her heart that life can be tragic. And that's another thing too. Remember when I mentioned earlier that Jacob almost calls Queenie crazy because she wants so badly to marry him that she would go to such lengths as enchanting him? Well, here he actually says it. You're crazy. And that just drives and that's literally the final nail in the coffin of Queenie's turn to the dark side. And then we see another scene in Austria where Grindelwald and Queenie are in this one castle with Nicholas. And Credence. And Grindelwald tells Credence who he really is. Turns out, Credence's real name is Aurelius Dumbledore. And I'm sure they're going to relate, and I'm sure they're going to go into further detail of how exactly he is a Dumbledore.
Yeah,
in the movie coming up.
And I don't even know.
Yep. So we also see a scene of all of the other main characters going back to Hogwarts, and they meet with Dumbledore, who gets the cuffs taken off of him. and Newt gives him something. This little silvery, it looks like a necklace. It's in the shape of a diamond, and the Niffler stole it off Grindelwald during that big confrontation. Turns out that is a blood pact. And we see a shot of this earlier on in the movie when Dumbledore is looking into the mirror of Erised, again, something from the first movie. And we see a younger Dumbledore and Grindelwald making this blood pact, basically swearing that they will never attack each other. So Newt asks Dumbledore, "Can you destroy it?" Dumbledore says, "Perhaps." And that's kind of where the movie ends. Actually, no.
There was something else important.
There was something else. Yes. Not only does Grindelwald tell Credence he is a Dumbledore, he also gives him his own wand.
Something else.
Okay, what was it?
So at the beginning of the movie, when Dumbledore is talking to Newt and telling him about the mission, it says that apparently in the Dumbledore family, when a Dumbledore is in great distress, a phoenix will come to their aid. And when Grindelwald is talking to Credence or Aurelius, a phoenix appears.
That's going to take some getting used to.
A phoenix appears, and Grindelwald was like, it's said that when a Dumbledore is in great distress, a phoenix will appear.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that basically is Fawkes, the phoenix that we see in the Harry Potter series. So that pretty much is the end of the movie. So that took a lot for me to explain, and as we've already seen, I forgot some of it and had to be reminded of it. So Crit, I absolutely understand what you mean by it being convoluted.
Yep.
But at the same time, I agree with you that I enjoyed this one far more than I enjoyed the first, and I am very much looking forward to the third one when it comes out. Now, real quick, let's just get this one out of the way. Dumbledore's relationship with Grindelwald. Everyone basically has attacked this thing every which angle to Sunday about it. And honestly, after seeing this movie, I am 100% convinced that Dumbledore and Grindelwald did indeed have romantic relations.
Oh, I believe it wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I mean, did I think it was necessary? No, absolutely not. But frankly, given what we have seen of them in this movie and just the look in Dumbledore's eyes, part of that, yes, is, his guilt over what happened with Ariana, I'm sure. But imagine if you were told that the person that you loved, you had to kill them. That's the look in your eyes that Dumbledore had anytime someone said, you have to fight Grindelwald. Phil McCracken says, I think you're right. It's there, but not mentioned. You're right. And here's the thing. It's exactly the same as Caitlin and Vi in Arcane, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I'm pretty sure they're going to in fact, I think there was even a trailer where Dumbledore does indeed say, I love you to Grindelwald. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure, but I think you told me, Tyler, that it's there, right?
No, I talked about there was a possibility. I haven't seen the preview for it.
Black Dragon says, so what if they did? My goddaughter just got married the other day. Both brides looked nice. Congratulations to both of them. So yeah, basically it is a thing, and you know what? As long as they build the story in a good organic way instead of just having it appear out of nowhere and cramming it down our throats, as so many other stories have, those two ladies at the end of Rise of Skywalker, for example, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it
Just-
gotta be like Arcane.
Exactly. Show again, going back to Arcane, show like they did, Caitlyn and Vi working together, bonding, becoming close, over the course of them doing their missions. But
It's always more about if we care about the characters or not, and that's a huge problem still in the industry.
that is very true. Phil McCracken says, "I think it was done in a way so for children, which is fine, but adults would know." I think you're right. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that, at least until the next movie comes along, and we'll see whether that develops further. But that aside, all of the characters that returned from the last movie, what did you think of them as far as how they were portrayed in this one from the last one? I've already said I liked Newt much better in this one than I did in the last one. He, for whatever reason, just seemed way less awkward. What do you think?
I liked the characters better in this one than the first.
Yes. I think the one, and here's the thing. I already said I was gutted by the fact that Queenie turned to the dark side in this movie, but at the same time, they did it so well that I can't help but applaud it.
Yeah.
I think the one exception to this, the one character that I think I liked better in the first movie than the second one, was Tina. Mostly because she just spends most of this movie grumpy about something that isn't even real.
Well, you also got to understand she was living in America and Newt was in England, and there wasn't a clear way for them to communicate. I mean, yes, owls, or the way Sirius Black did with the fire and all.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see a newspaper article and it's written in such a way that it makes it seem like Newt is marrying Lita, and you thought you and Newt had a relationship, possibly, it kind of like brings you down. It would bring you down. It brought her down, as we could see.
True. So yeah, and of course Grindelwald himself, Johnny Depp, did great. Obviously he was barely even in the first one until the very end, but everything that we saw of him in this movie, he did really good. It's just a shame that, what happened in real life happened, and he's not going to be back for the next one.
Personally, I wanted to address this. I am tired of, if you have personal affairs, that shouldn't it shouldn't matter if that affects your career anyway. For this whole affair with his wife, or not, this whole like trial with his wife, it didn't need to affect him publicly. But these companies feel like, oh well, now you're labeled this, we can't have you. It's kind of unfair, and it's just horrid that companies allow this to happen.
You're right. It's literally guilty until proven innocent. And even when you're proven innocent, you will never be proven innocent in the court of public opinion.
That's why I'm afraid. Like, I want to work in Hollywood, but then again, I don't.
Yeah, same here. It only ever gets beyond like the, hey, what if I did this? And then, of course, reality quickly shoots that down. So that's pretty much all I can think of for this movie. Score, action, it's all pretty much the same. Obviously the action's better in this movie. I like that, especially the Finite scene was cool. Score is pretty much the same. So that's pretty much it to talk about with this movie. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you guys think we should?
It's not so much about the whole movie, but when it pops up the title of the movie, The Crimes of Grindelwald, you can see the Deathly Hallows. One of the eyes is the wand, the Elder Wand, The G is the Resurrection Stone, and the A is the Cloak of Invisibility.
I am looking this up now. I want to see what you're talking about. Oh, you're right. Let me bring this up so that everyone can see it. So, wait, wrong tab. Yeah. So you're right. So the I in crimes is the Elder Wand. The G, you said that's the Resurrection Stone?
Yep.
Admittedly, I don't see that one really. But the A I 100% do see is
We'll also see the I, the G, and the A all have the same type of design for them.
where it looks like where parts of them are breaking off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that. But then again, though, I just now noticed the Deathly Hallows wasn't even mentioned in this movie, whereas the last one, you see the symbol that Percival Graves shows to Credence.
Yeah.
So why do that? Other than,
Well,
hey, it looks cool.
Well, since you obviously see Grindelwald waving the Elder Wand.
True.
And I think Dumbledore might actually talk about the Deathly Hallows. I'm not for sure.
Not that I can remember. Do you remember them mentioning anything about the Deathly Hallows in this movie, Crit?
No.
Okay. Maybe they did and it just flew over my head, but I can't think of it, so this just strikes me as a bit of an odd choice. But anyways, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up now. So once again, thank you, Tyler, for coming on here and talking some Harry Potter with me. We will be doing this at least one more time when the third movie comes out. I'd like to say April 15th. That is right. I would like to say when the fourth and fifth movies come out, we could do this too, but I know that you'll be in Florida by that point. So
yeah. Well, Florida and Virginia have the same time zones. So.
That is true, but your work schedule could put a stop to that. You want to real quick say what you got going on for anyone that missed it?
So I get to go down to Florida and do the Disney College program at Walt Disney World.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yep. So I'm sure you'll have at least some form of free time where you may be able to at least go see the movie. I'm certainly going to see him and talk about him. So we'll see what happens with that. Black Dragon says, remember the Resurrection Stone was a circle in the symbol. You're right. I guess I wasn't looking hard enough at the logo. All right, well, I guess that's going to be it for us. So, like I said, thank you, Tyler, for joining. Thank you also, Cash and Crit. Real quick, Cash, I know you said you hadn't seen this movie, but based off of my admittedly somewhat poor description of this movie, has this convinced you one way or another to see it?
I guess. My brother said it wasn't that good, but usually we have a lot of the same opinions, but I guess I'll give it a try. My dad watched it and my brother watched it, so why not, I guess. If not, Crit will be like, you have to watch this. Hey, look what's on! Surprise!
Yeah. Why?
Hashtag Cash Money has his own copy of Star Trek V Blu-ray.
Definitely not.
All right, well, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here now. So thank you guys for watching this. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Here in about 20 minutes, actually, go over to the Coffee on Korriban channel because I'm going to be over there with Tim. Like I said, I don't know what this stream's going to be about, but I'm sure we're going to have fun anyways. And just remember, everyone, the Force is family. See you guys later. I need to add some form of music to this ending thing. I tried to before, but it just didn't work out right.